Hello folks, welcome. So this video is made for 3 different desktops, Linux Mint 22, LMDE 6, and Linux Mint 21.3, the older version of the Cinnamon desktop. I'm going to talk about the tools that you already have to do backups. Basic for new users, the tools in your file manager, and advanced concepts for those that want to do fully automated and semi-automated backups. I'm going to be using a 2-line script file to do the complete home folder without the hidden files, and do the same on the USB drive or stick. And then I'll also talk about troubleshooting if you are trying to understand script files. So in either case, the concept is simple, and I like simple. Hopefully you will enjoy this video. And my recommendation is to watch the video in its entirety. Filming in 1080, welcome. Subscription key is in the corner. So I have a user called New Mint with some folders. And we have a internally mounted, auto-mounted drive. I'll talk about that concept a little bit later. And externally mounted USB drive that has a complete backup of my current home folder, including folders with spaces in them. Okay, I'm going to first show you how to do this, and then we'll talk about the details. I'm going to first give you the demo, then I'll proceed to do something for basic users, showing you tools to do backups using only your file manager and a couple of tools, and then I'll get into the concept of writing script files, and more importantly, how it relates to your auto start folders. Okay, so demo first. I'm going to get rid of that. This again has all of the home users folders. Bye-bye. So again, this is a link to a script file. I'm going to first demo it and then give you the details later. So these can be ran automatically. Some people like to write cron job. I like to do simple stuff. So the user can choose to do this automatically or not every time they log in. But they can always do this manually. That's the first concept. This has all the subfolders. So however many folders you have in your home folder, it's however long it takes to replicate. Okay. Next concept is USB drive. And I'll talk about how this is formatted later. And I have a launcher for that. And I'll click that and you can see that it's making a primary folder and subfolders. And they should match my user. Control N. The user for today is New Mint, could be Sam or Bob, but 12 folders, 12 folders. Okay? So let's first start with basics for your new users. All right, we probably know that there's a tool in here called backup. If you don't, that is a backup tool, and you can use that to back up a software list, not your software, but a list. And you can back up your personal stuff. Let's face it, we all have maybe important documents and photos and music or personal folders. This tool is very limited, and it uses tape archive or tar. Okay, so essentially it's going to be saving it in here. I'll do the software list first and hit forward, and you can see that this is the stuff that it produces. This one, on the other hand, I need to close and reopen. I don't know why they don't have a back button, but that's not my thing. But this is a limited tool. Your file manager is much more superior in my book, but this only does tape archive. It has no other options for compression. Default is backup. You can change that. You cannot change this. It has to be there. And we do apply. And it makes a tar file. Tar backup, tape archive. What's in the box? That's what's in the box. You may not care, but this download folder currently has one item, which is Warpinator. It didn't copy it. All right, this is a folder that's put in there by Linux Mint. Warpinator is made for file sharing. If you haven't seen any of my videos on file sharing, last week or two, I've been doing Samba and KDE Connect for smartphones and that kind of stuff. The other folders that didn't copy is public and templates. You may not care. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of those. I normally don't do backups this way. All right. So let's go over here and just talk about general stuff in Nemo, your file manager. So Nemo is found on the Cinnamon desktop. We can hit, documents are important, right? Pictures are important, and maybe music. All I'm doing is holding down my control key when I'm clicking. 3 folders, or do you want to do all of them? Let's do all of them. Control A. Control A or select all. Okay. Anyways, right click on any one of these and hit compress. Am I going to use compression? Actually not, but I'm going to show this to you. Starting with 7Z, ending with zip. Most of these are compressed, except for Tape Archive. Tape Archive has been around since the Unix days like me. They are not compressed. Backup, what's that, 1129.24, if you want to date them. When you hit create using tar, it creates what looks to be like a cryptic name, and then it finishes with the name you gave it. I know it's very quick. So 829 megabytes is roughly what I have. But this copied the download folder, and you can see that the Warpinator folder is in there. So this is a tar file. Tar box, tarball. Very popular, can be open on any Linux system, but more importantly, you can use that for backups also. Now, I'm going to create a folder for this, and we'll just call that T backup, like as in total. Backup. That's close enough, T back. So I have T-back staring at me. Is it a good idea just to leave it here without maybe thinking about this? What if your drive has been spinning for a while? What if you have a drive that maybe has problems? Having your backups on the same drive you're booted into sometimes isn't the best idea in the world. You can certainly leave that here, but I do recommend right-clicking and copy that to something else. You have an internal hard drive? I do. That's a nice luxury. Sometimes you don't. Maybe you got a USB stick, USB drive. Well, that all depends on how these are formatted. Okay, so how big is this file? Well, it's currently 821 megabytes. It's under 4 gigabytes, so if that was formatted with FAT32, it'd probably work okay. However, as you grow and that file exceeds 4 gigabytes, then this better be formatted with something else. I format mine with extension 4. But I'm going to use the internal drive this time and paste that there. So I have a copy of it in case the primary drive fails. The cool thing about these tar files, if you're not aware of this, you don't have to extract everything if you're just looking for something in the box. To give you an example, I'm going to pull out that PDF and that ODT file. It's a text file. That's all I needed. All right, so just different concepts to think about. But in either case, you can use your file manager to also, instead of using tar, you can also use compressed files for backups. All right, now I'm going to carry this concept a little bit further for script files. If you're interested in that, if you're learning script files, you might be interested to learn how simple some of this can be or how complex. I'm also going to talk about troubleshooting, so I do recommend watching the video in its entirety, because I'm going to talk about automated scripts and automated files to do this kind of with, and semi. All right, so in here I have a scripts folder. It doesn't have to be one, but I like to keep my script files in something I know where they're located. So script files are just generally text files, and you're going to just write them with a standard text editor. That's the text editor for Linux Mint, Cinnamon. You can use any text editor. Just don't use a word processor. All of these things have a single name on them, except this has copy. But they don't have any spaces in the names. Okay, so basically after you write them, you also want to save that as allowed to be ran as a program. And in Linux Mint, you have 4 choices to open this file. Run in terminal, display, cancel of course, and run. This gives me a silent, and this will open up a terminal box. Depending on how I got that configured, it'll either output the list of the files or just open the terminal box and close it. All right, in either case, let me show you the first file. It's 2 lines, and I'll cover all of this in a second. This one here is also 2 lines. These are extremely simple to write, and they can be used elsewhere. This one here is a little bit more in depth. Believe it or not, it's not as powerful as the other two. And this one here is also the same. Again, it's not as powerful as the first two because it does specific folders instead of all of my folders. But you'll see stuff in red here, and the reason for that is because I have folders that have spaces in them. When you write script files, you will have difficulty sometimes with these folder names that have spaces in them. I've talked about this concept before. But let's first get this out of the way. So we'll start with the simple stuff. Actually, this won't be the easiest to explain. If you don't know what that is I call it the bin bash statement. Some people have different names for things. That's okay. I got pet names for a lot of things. But basically, it's going to be using born again shell. How do you produce those two symbols there? It's shift key, upper row of your numeric is 3-1. Then no space, / found near your enter key, a little bit below it. Type in bin, another / bash. What does bash stand for anyways? Born again shell. Born again shell. Okay. So if you are to do a MAN bash, that's how it's spelled there. Born. Okay, never mind. Closing terminal. So we need that to process rsync commands. Rsync is remote sync. You're more likely already using it. Are you using timeshift? You were asked to activate it. And if your hard drive is formatted with extension 4 for Linux Mint, you are using rsync if you're using this timeshift. Okay? I'm not going to open it. Trust me. That's an archive option. It's very powerful, actually. It's a single 2 digits. I can also add this to it as one example if I wanted to list the files in my terminal box if I ran it in terminal. But we're going to do basic stuff today. So rsync-a space -- delete. Now what exactly does that do? Well, since I'm creating a folder called my backup on USB back 3, that would be this USB stick. That's what it creates. However, it also creates subfolders in here. And those subfolders can be handled with this command here by editing. So as the user adds and removes folders or edits even text files, and you run this script, it will also remove folders if necessary out of this folder. If you don't have this on, it will never remove anything. It will sync up, yes, but it won't remove anything. This command here keeps your folders and files in sync. That's the whole purpose of this thing. But you have the option of not deleting anything either. It just keeps adding. So if you want them absolutely in sync, you use the -- deletes. As a matter of fact, you'll see that on all of my script files nowadays. But you can leave it off also. All right, so I put a space and then I put in this statement. -- exclude equals quote, period, asterisk, and another quote. These are double quotes, not single. What that does is let's open up this folder again. The main folder here has hidden files in it. If you're not aware of that, let me make that smaller. When you turn this on, everything that has a period in front of it is a hidden folder. Or it's a hidden file. There's a lot more stuff in here. Most people don't need this stuff. They're not your personal files anyways. Control H. These more likely are. So that's what I'm doing. I'm excluding those hidden files. Otherwise the backups are enormous. But excluding your hidden files is that command, what I have highlighted. The next one, you're going to be shocked to understand that this home user called new mint, this whole folder is represented by 2 symbols. The tilde is found to the left of your number 1 key on your standard keyboards. The / represents the home folder. And the tilde represents the user, like Mary or Bob or Sam, Mark. Maybe you've seen some of my videos, I use different names. I do that for having a little fun. This part here, I can use the script elsewhere, if you get my drift. I put one space in here, and this is the name of the device that I'm going to be sending it to copy my home folder to as a sync up. That is this device here. You can toggle the entry, you can copy that, and you can paste that in your script file. I'll paste it on line 6 so you can see it. Since I'm using Kate, the text editor, it has a nice feature when things match and highlights it yellow. So that is my USB back 3 drive, and that matches. Then all I do is add a / and the name of the folder. Now, I'm going to talk about some important things when you do this. What happens when you do that? When you do that, nothing will replicate. Absolutely nothing. Or it'll make a backup folder somewhere else, like where your script file is located. That's an undesirable effect. Be very careful when you're using spaces. All right, so this is acceptable. Single quotes are found next to your enter key. That'll turn red, that's fine. That's acceptable. Sorry, I'm going to put a space in there. That would be acceptable because I have single quotes turned on. So basically it's going to create a My Backup folder, in this case on USB 3. If you want, I will actually show you this. I'm going to hit save for a second and minimize this. USB 3, I'm going to delete that so it can be recreated using this command. Now it has a space in there and the folder is in here. So what happens is if you do this wrong, okay, I'll first let you see what my script, actually let me just do two boxes. Again, that'll be easier so you can see this. So I have 2 folders here called Backup 2 and Backup. What's in here is just backups of my script files. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to edit this USB backup without the quotes. What would you think is going to happen here? A lot of people will say, it should be fine. Well, is it? Let's find out. Nothing here. Let's run that manually. Please take a look at these folders for a second. Did you see something get added there instead of here? Yes, it made a backup and there's all my files. It did not go to my USB 3. So this is something that you need to think about when you mess around with trying to format these things by adding spaces. That's how much grief that it caused. That folder belongs over here because this is all of my 13 items in my home folder. This folder now is enormous. Let's fix this properly. So if you want to use My Backup, make it a single word. Or if you want to use spaces, then do it this way. Make it bigger for you. Single quotes, and it'll work just fine. Let me rerun the file. And you can see that. Didn't back it up in here, did it over here. That's proper. But in most cases, what I'm going to recommend to you is don't get fancy. Be simple. When you create these things, just type in backup. You can even put a B if you like. Just make it very simple. Okay? And now I'm going to hit save and retest that because anytime you play with script files, always retest them. Now, if I used the VH flags on here, then you can run this in terminal and see a file list. However, a lot of Linux distributions do not hold that terminal box open for very long. But if you like, I will do this really briefly and I'll do a save. And I don't know how this is configured currently. Let me go check it. I think it's on standard mode. Okay, let's do this. And I will give it something to do. This time I'm going to run it in terminal. You can see that. And it closed the box. I didn't close that. Let me run that again. So what's going to happen when I run that the second time? Nothing, because it's verifying. Folder's already finished. All right, so to see all this stuff in Linux Mint, you need to hold that box open. Not everybody's cup of tea. File list is in there. That is normal when you do this. I got a summary at the bottom. You can see the file lists are here, starting with that folder and all the way down. Okay. So I do things silently. Simple is good. All right, close. I'm going to reconfigure the terminal box. I just like to have it done standard. I only do this if I'm wanting to just display that. Now it'll close normally just like everything else. Okay. Since I jacked with it, messed with it, let me rerun that. Always a good idea to make sure it works. Okay. So let's talk about this one for a second. That has the same concept. Don't put spaces in the folder names that you're trying to create. All right, so that has MNT on it. Now, where'd that come from? All right, so this drive here is auto-mounted. You can toggle the entry to see the MNT. I'll manually mount this drive for a second. It's my demo drive. It says media on it. So is the USB. It'll say media on it. So this drive is the only one auto-mounted, and it's mounted when I turn the computer on and log in. You'll see it automatically mounted. How do we achieve that? That's done with this tool here. This is a GNOME disk utility. I do have an year-old video on this, but more importantly, if it has a power symbol, it's USB based. These do not. I'm just going to make mention that's my demo drive. That's Linux Mint right here. You can see it says Linux file system. And that's my play drive. That's the backup drive. I called it back 2. All right, let's talk about formatting. Make your names short, no spaces, is what I recommend. Okay, I call mine back 2. Simple and sweet. Extension 4. Why do I want extension 4 instead of FAT or NTFS? Extension 4 is Linux, and more importantly, it'll handle files larger than 4 gigabytes. So format that. However long it takes to format your current drive, allow it to finish, and then click this gear symbol before closing this box. Go to the Edit Mount options. This is how you'll find your drive. If you leave it this way, this will not be auto-mounted. Okay, that's manually mounted. This is auto-mounted. Make sure you don't unclick those. Leave them alone. You want those. Hit OK. Reboot your computer. When you reboot, log back in, open up your file manager, click on whatever name you gave that drive, and you make sure that it says MNT on it. I'll do another one, Control N, to give you 2 boxes. If you have an existing script file like I normally do, I use this file elsewhere, believe it or not. And if you are wanting to use Kate, you can do this easily. But more importantly, all you do is go to your home folder, click on the drive, click on the toggle entry, right-click your mouse, and copy that. And then you can click it in your script file. Since I'm using Kate, I have a nice feature where it can verify that that is the same number. Okay, generally I just paste it right in here. Then I add the folder name, again without spaces. If I do spaces again, what happens? Normally it's probably going to save in this case, a folder called backup in your script folder or wherever you have the script. That's not what you want. So single letters or just type in backup, whatever. Okay. So that part there can be reused elsewhere. And more importantly, this part I replace because this is an auto-mounted drive. versus the other one was USB based. So I don't think I made any changes, so I'm just going to do a discard and check it. And it's going to be display only. And yes, I didn't make any changes. So the difference on the two files, one more time as a recap. I'll display them side by side. One more time for a screenshot if you want. You can always back this video up and hit pause and screenshot. So again, this front part is the same on both files. These are what I call very simple backups that exclude your home folders. I'm sorry, exclude your hidden folders and files, because generally you don't need that as a user. So it's going to be copying these, in other words, not the hidden ones. And one more time on the other one for auto start. Instead of writing cron jobs, I do it this way. I like simple. I'll redo this for you because it takes me only a couple seconds. Custom command. I think I called it main all backup. That's what I called my file. Just need to find it wherever I stored it. And I think it's this one. And that's not required. However, you should always test these, so I will do that. And I'll leave the tar file. It's not going to hurt anything. And run a, yep, that does a backup. So as long as this is on, it does a backup every time I log in. And if I change my mind and I want to do a manual backup before I log out, I can open this up, go in here, click that, and hit the play button. That's as simple as that. Hopefully you found this informative. I think I'm done. Keep in mind, I have lots of videos on my YouTube site. Take care, folks.